Hello and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech. Today we are taking a look at Arabella, Abandoned Doll. This is a 2 mana 1/3 and whenever she attacks it deals X damage to each opponent and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. Arabella is going to be a very aggressive Boros commander, which will try to assemble a very wide board of small creatures to make you win with her attack trigger. Arabella is a 2 mana commander, so you can bring her out really early, and from then on you just have to keep stepping on the gas. For example, with cards like Royal Apprentice, a 2 mana 2/1 with haste, and with Lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and that token gains haste until end of turn. This card does it all for us. It creates tokens that have less power than 2, itself also has power 2 or less, and it can swing immediately. Charismatic Conqueror, a 2 mana 2/2 with Vigilance, and whenever an artifact or creature enters the battlefield untapped and under an opponent's control, they may tap that permanent. If they don't, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. If your opponents don't tap their creatures or artifacts, you will keep making tokens, and if they do tap their permanents, you will have a free swing with Arabella, so they basically can only lose. Anim Pakal, 1000th Moon, a 3 mana 1/2, and whenever you attack with one or more non-gnome creatures, put a 1/1 counter on Anim Pakal. Then create X 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Anim Pakal. Anim Pakal is a perfect turn free play once you've brought out Arabella, as you can immediately create tokens and make her even bigger. Adeline, Resplendent Kafar, a 3 mana 0/4 with Vigilance, and her power is equal to the number of creatures you control. Furthermore, whenever you attack, for each opponent create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or planeswalker they control. You also play Kranko, Tin Street Kingpin, a 3 mana 1/2, and whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it and then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to Kranko's power. We also play Legion Warboss, a 3 mana 2/2 with Mentor, so whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. Furthermore, at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. Due to the fact that we create a bunch of tokens and drain our opponents with Arabella, we also want to ping our opponents for damage while we create those tokens. So we play a Gate Instigator, a 2 mana 1/3 with Offspring for 2 mana, and whenever another creature you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Of course we play Perforos, God of the Forge, a 4 mana 6/5 with Indestructible, and as long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Perforos isn't a creature. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Perforos deals 2 damage to each opponent. He also has an activated ability. For 3 mana, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn, which is a useful activated ability that you can use before damage once Arabella's attack trigger has resolved. Warleader's Call, a 3 mana enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Warleader's Call deals 1 damage to each opponent. The budget version of Warleader's Call is Impact Tremors, a 2 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. You also play Witty Roastmaster, a 3 mana 3/2, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Witty Roastmaster deals 1 damage to each opponent. Raid Bombardment, a 3 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, Raid Bombardment deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. We gotta make sure that we never run out of gas, so we play Tukasia's Welcome, a 3 mana enchantment, and whenever one or more creatures with mana value 3 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. We also play Rumor Gatherer, a 3 mana 2/1, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card instead. Of course we gotta play Esper Sentinel, a 1 mana 1/1, and whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. Welcoming Vampire, a 3 mana 2/3 with flying, and whenever one or more other creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Mentor of the Meek, a 3 mana 2/2, and whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. And due to the fact that we create a bunch of tokens, we also play Idol of Oblivion, a 2-mana artifact, and you can tap it to draw a card, but you can only activate it if you created a token this turn. You can also pay 8 mana, tap it and sacrifice it to create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token. There are a lot of very good conditional board wipes that fit really good into this deck. I'm myself not a fan of playing board wipes, but you gotta do what you gotta do to win games. The Battle of Bywater, a 3-mana sorcery, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, then create a food token for each creature you control. You can also play Dusk, a 4-mana sorcery, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. Later in the game you can cast it for its Dawnside, a 5-mana sorcery, and return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. You can also play Fell the Mighty, a 5-mana sorcery, destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. And last but not least, Expel the Interloopers, a 5-mana sorcery, choose a number between 0 and 10, destroy all creatures with power greater than or equal to the chosen number. You want to win more? You get it. Akroma's Will, a 4-mana instant, choose one. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Creatures you control gain Flying, Vigilance and Double Strike until end of turn. All creatures you control gain Lifelink, Indestructible and Protection from all colors until end of turn. Due to the fact that we go wide on our board and have expendable creatures, we play Goblin Bombardment, a 2-mana enchantment, sacrifice a creature, Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. And last but not least, we play Otari, Sun's Glory, a 5-mana 3/3 with Flying, Lifelink and Haste, and when it attacks you get an experience counter. Then create a 2/2 red rebel creature token that's tapped and attacking for each experience counter you have. You can also pay 4 mana and tap an untapped rebel you control to return Otari from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Alright guys, these were a few cards that I would play in Arabella, Abandoned Doll. Make sure to check out my deck list in the notes below. Let me know down in the comments which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I shall feature next. And then I would say, see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.